Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope all of you are doing good. And I have a couple questions tonight, so make sure you chime in the chat and shout out to the replay crew. Those of you who watch this stream after the fact, make sure you chime in as well. Does the two-way protect convicted people? And should criminals own guns? Now, some of you might have a very, very quick answer, but I do want to talk about this tonight because it seems like a simple topic for some people. And I know a lot of my friends right away are going to be like, well, hold on a minute. Of course not. Well, I have some things to say on that. So you may want to give me a real quick answer. Or, like I said, we're going to discuss this in depth tonight. And one more thing. For all of you who are watching on replay, again, shout outs. You guys are awesome. In fact, I have two totally separate viewers. Like, you can't even make this up. That both detail cars, okay, on the weekend while they're listening or watching replays of my weekly live stream / podcast. So some of you guys that know what this is when you're watching it, thank you. And I often watch replays of live streams. In fact, I can rarely catch them live. Now, for everybody else, you will notice down below when you're watching the replay, it says streamed maybe an hour ago, maybe a day ago, maybe a week ago, maybe a year ago. This is a 2-hour live stream. So for those of you who don't like to watch replays of 2-hour live streams, please don't watch. Those of you who don't like this type of content, do us both a favor and just unsub and leave, because every week when I stream, and it's kind of like, geez, you shouldn't even have to tell people this, but I'm giving people a real quick YouTube tutorial. And guys, we're going to get to the live stream right away. It's just every week when I live stream, people come in. Get to the point. You could have said this in 5 minutes. No, I could do lots of things. But first of all, this is my channel and I do whatever I want. Yeah, actually. And by the way, no, this is a live stream. It's a conversation. It's long format content. And I frequently do videos who are much shorter. So if you enjoy those videos, great. If you enjoy the live stream replay, awesome. Glad to have you here. Like I said, I frequently listen to like 2-3 hour live streams on replay. However, no, this isn't a 5-minute video. And if that's what you want and you can't take it, just move on, get out. I'm just sick and tired of people whining. Like, we have major problems right now. The Second Amendment is under attack. We just had the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the full en banc panel, say that magazines are not protected by the Second Amendment. That's a huge deal. We also have the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi maybe kind of doing something to comply with Trump's executive order, but I'm still not sure. So there's obviously some concerns there. In Michigan, they're putting forth and just passed through committee Senate Bill 111. This is like one of the craziest red flag laws ever. And yes, we already have red flag laws in Michigan, but this one's even worse. I'm going to touch on that real briefly tonight. But I'm going to do a standalone video that you guys can watch over the weekend. But yeah, man, you'd think with the Second Amendment, just all of the issues just constantly, because like the other side, they never, ever, ever stop. You would think people would be a little bit more worried about that than how long my live streams last. But yeah, it might make perfect sense, and it might explain exactly why we find ourselves in the shape we're in. So we're going to get into, does the two-way protect convicted people, criminals, cons, ex-cons? You can call them whatever you want. And should criminals own guns? And what about other arms? Because the Second Amendment says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But before we get into all of that, I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to all of my YouTube channel members. I have a ton of members right now. A lot of you guys have been supporting the channel for a long time this way. I really, really appreciate it. A lot of you guys have been gifted memberships recently by QD and others. You guys have some extra emojis you have access to here on the channel, as well as some bonus content. And you do get a little badge by your name for recognition for that in the chat. Also, super chats. It's a great way for you guys to help support the channel. Just remember, you guys are my sponsors. I'm not doing an ad read here. You guys are what funds all of this, and we do put all of the funds to good use, and I get out to the Capitol, and I'm constantly working as much as I possibly can to help protect and defend the Second Amendment. Also, thank you to my Patreon supporters as well as my local supporters. Now, Locals is a different site, censorship free, as well as their sister site that rhymes with fumble. I do a bonus stream there pretty much every Saturday night where we touch guns. We do all kinds of cool stuff. Look, when you get outside of the gun sphere, I'll just say the name of it, even though the ghost of Susan Wiki. Will someone distract her real quick? Because, like I said, I'll give you guys a quick update for whoever is new to the channel. There used to be a lady that was the CEO of YouTube. People used to call her many things. But since this is a family-friendly channel, we started calling her Susan Wiki. She did lots of things that were terrible for YouTube. Then she died. But her ghost still haunts this channel. So don't tell her what the word I'm about to say because they don't like it. But there's another site called Rumble. Yeah, this video just got hit as soon as I said that. Wow. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up. No. Like outside of the gun sphere, like that site's like super duper taking off with some of the biggest live streamers and podcasters going over there. I'd like to see as many of you as possible follow me on censorship free stuff because while I enjoy our time here, we never know when it's going to be our last. So go over there, and their app is way better than it has been in the past. And I'm thinking about starting to stream there on Friday nights as well. So let me know in the comments and in the live chat, which I will go back and review all of this afterwards. Should I simulcast on Fridays? Or maybe on Fridays I should do part of the stream here and then like switch over at a certain point. Because like, yeah, we have to really watch what we say here. And we can't touch certain inanimate objects while we're live. So let me know if there's interest and make sure you guys are following me over on these other places. Same thing with Locals. I do a live stream there as well every Saturday night, and I post deals on stuff. And if you've not been over to my Locals lately, make sure you go over there because the deals I've posted just in the last like 48 hours are like awesome. So make sure you check all of that out as well. So Trump did a Second Amendment executive order. This is over a month ago now. We talked about that last week. And, you know, a lot of you guys are kind of with me. You're like, hurry up already. Like, where's it at? What's going on? And then a lot of you also said, well, hold on a minute. Pam Bondi, that's what they call her. She's the former Attorney General of Florida. These people are like, man, she's really, really busy right now. Like, she has more important stuff to do. Okay, I think she's busy, but is there anything more important than the Second Amendment? I don't think so. Because there's nothing more important than the Bill of Rights and the United States Constitution. It's literally what makes America America and different than the rest of the world. I've always said this, and I'm going to say it again. There's awesome people in every country of the world. There really are, and God loves them just as much as you. But I don't want to live in other countries. I want to live in the United States of America. And without our Bill of Rights being upheld and defended, America just kind of blends in with all of the rest. And that's a problem. So to me, the Second Amendment isn't just like yet another important priority. It is the most important priority. Because the Second Amendment was put there, not for if, but for when they come for all the rest. So, yeah, I'm still being a little impatient that Bondi hasn't come forth with the report that she's supposed to send to Trump. Now, some people also said, hey, wait a minute. Maybe she submitted it to him. We just don't know it yet. That may very well be true. I don't know. But there was some of it that apparently leaked. All right. Apparently leaked. And I'm going to read an article here. We're going to go over it. This is from The Reload, and it's by Stephen Gutowski. All right. If you guys want to check out the article for yourself. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about Rumble. I'm going to read all these afterwards. And, hey, man, it is what it is. But I'd like to see more of the gun and Second Amendment community over there because, man, we could really rock and roll if we could just get more people interested in censorship-free platforms. All right, so the Department of Justice, DOJ, released a new plan to eventually create a process for restoring the gun rights of former convicts who meet an as-yet undetermined standard. So it sounds like we don't really know everything this is going to be. Now, Pam Bondi is supposed to come forth with all of this stuff that Trump said she shall provide. Here's the deal with Bondi when she was in Florida, all right? Look, I'm not a big fan. I'm just going to be candid with all of you. She has supported, like heavily supported, red flag laws. She's the one that literally sat there next to Trump when he was in his 45th administration saying, yeah, we should do red flag laws, and just look it up. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. You can watch it, and it's like super, super cringe, right? She also defended it in court, and she also defended in court and advocated for a law that would prevent 18 to 20-year-olds, in other words, people that were 1 day short or 3 years short of being 21, legal adults in every other regard, not able to own certain types of firearms. Yeah, I find that completely abhorrent, and she has supported all of that. Now, has she changed? We'll see. And I have some quotes from her, and we'll go over them. On Wednesday, the DOJ posted an unpublished version of an interim final rule, IFR, that would rescind the delegation rights restoration from the ATF. That power would transfer directly back to the Attorney General Pam Bondi until she decided how best to outline a new process. So right now the ATF, here's the deal. There is technically a method to get your, quote, rights restored, but it hasn't actually been an option on the federal level in many, many years. Now, states, that could be a different process. You could have a process where it's called set aside your conviction, or it could be called expungement. There's different terminologies, but on the federal level, this has not actually been a reality for a very, very long time. That power would transfer directly back to Bondi until she decides how to best outline a new process. In the IFR, Bondi claimed the move is necessary because Congress blocked funding, for the ATF's restoration process in the early 90s, and it has laid dormant ever since. It's literally been sitting dormant for about 30 years now, which is crazy. ATF, which currently has regulatory authority to act on applications made under 18 U.S.C. 925C, has been forbidden from utilizing any of its appropriated funds for staffing to process requests by individuals for over 30 years, Bondi wrote in the IFR. Although the specific contours of any new approach to the implementation of 18 U.S.C. 925C may be refined through future rulemaking, the Attorney General has determined, in an exercise of her discretion under the HSA and 28 U.S.C. 509 to 510, that the appropriate first step is to withdraw the delegation to the ATF to administer Section 925C and withdraw the moribund regulations governing individual applications to ATF for 18 U.S.C. 925C relief. So she's saying, well, let's just move the ATF out of the equation. It's going to go directly to her purview in her office. The rule is the first concrete result of the executive branch gun policy review President Trump ordered in early February. It could help ease concerns among some gun rights activists about the delay in delivering promised reforms. However, like Trump's order, the rule does not implement any final changes. Instead, it promises to create a process for gun rights restoration at some point down the line. So here's the deal. There's many things that can make you a prohibited person, right? And I don't even like the words gun rights restoration because that implies the right can actually be taken away. So let me back up first, because this is how I look at it. A right is not a privilege. These are two totally separate things. They're actually almost opposites if you think about it. Look at the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson when he was in his mid-30s, July 4th, 1776. All men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So where do rights come from? Well, according to Thomas Jefferson and the Founding Fathers, they are endowed by your Creator. It also says in the Declaration of Independence, these are the laws of nature and of nature's God. And so many people like to talk about your Second Amendment rights. And I understand that because that's an easy way to say it, but words matter. And I actually don't like the phrase Second Amendment rights, because if the Second Amendment itself, if that document is what granted you your rights, the document was actually written by the government. Now, would that actually be a right? No, it actually wouldn't be a right at all, because whoever grants has the ability to take away. See, that's not what the Second Amendment says, though. The Second Amendment does not say that the United States government gives you the right to keep and bear arms, because if it did, that would have been a simple privilege, and it would have been able to be taken away at the whims of the government. Instead, it says a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So it supposes that the right has always existed before the United States was a country, and it's always existed ever since there's been mankind. Even animals understand that they have the right to defend themselves and protect themselves. This is literally part of natural law, and this is so obvious. Go into the woods. I don't do this because that's not cool, but suppose you were to go into the woods and try to like corner a wild animal. It might cower at first, but once you corner it enough, or if it's a predatory animal, it might hunt you down, but it's going to try whatever it can possibly do to defend itself, hurt you if it must. It understands that it has the right to survive. It has the right to life, and it has the right to liberty. Animals know this, nature knows this, and the founding fathers knew that. So it's not your Second Amendment rights. It's your natural, God-given right to keep and bear arms. And the Second Amendment simply says, shall not be infringed. It tells the government, hands off. Don't tread on me. It tells the government there's not allowed to be any gun controls in a country called the United States of America. Actually, there's not allowed to be, quote unquote, this is the other side's talking points, reasonable gun control. No. Shall not be infringed doesn't allow for any. It doesn't allow for a lot. It doesn't allow for a medium amount. It doesn't allow for a little bit. It doesn't even allow for one scintilla of gun control. Because a lot of people like to put like extra commas and pretend there's extra stuff in the Second Amendment that just isn't there. See, the Second Amendment doesn't say shall not be infringed, comma, except for just a little bit, does it? Does it say shall not be infringed, comma, unless it's a weapon of war? No, it actually says the opposite if you think about it. Because this is what's so awesome about the Second Amendment. It tells you the what, but before that, it tells you the why. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, which means the founding fathers wanted we the people. That's who the militia is. The militia is not a standing army, which the founding fathers opposed to ever having a standing army in times of peace. Standing navy, yes. Standing army, no, unless we were literally at war. Go look it up. That was actually one of their biggest fears, that we would ever have a standing army in times of peace. Now, no, they put the Second Amendment in there because the well-regulated militia, since it's necessary to the security of a free state, that we the people, the right of the people, it says, to keep and bear arms, it shall not be infringed, because that meant people. That meant American citizens, Americans, have the God-given, unalienable right to keep and bear arms, and especially military arms. Especially literally military arms. Because the Second Amendment wasn't about hunting. Obviously, at the time of the founding, if you didn't hunt for the most part, you didn't eat. Now, it does protect hunting. It also protects recreational shooting. You do have property rights in this country. All of these are wonderful things. Collecting, hanging out with guns, talking with guns, competing competitively, going out and just shooting a few tin cans off the back porch. Obviously, that's protected because that's what it means to be an American, right? But the crazy part is that's not why the Second Amendment was written at all. The Second Amendment was written to protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic. And it was there to protect from a tyrannical government from within. That if the United States government itself would ever become tyrannical, that we the people will be able to throw off that government. It literally talks about the whole roadmap for all of this in the Declaration of Independence, furthered in the Bill of Rights, written 1789 and ratified in 1791, The founding fathers knew exactly what they were talking about. So when I hear them talk about your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, like, I get it. And if that's the saying you guys use because you're just kind of like just repeating stuff you've already heard, that's fine. I'm not judging you at all. But that's the reason why we do these live streams and this podcast, is for you to think just a little bit more. Because the government wants to assume we're all stupid. But the crazy part is I find very few stupid people. Actually, I find most of you to be much smarter than most people in government, actually, except for the people that come back on stream replay and are like, what's wrong with this guy? Spit it out. He could have read the article in 5 minutes. No. It says this was a live stream. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Way too many whiners within the 2A community. But other than all of them, dude, like you guys get it. And it's getting kind of annoying that these people always talk down to us. So let's go on and let's talk about the fact that it's a right, not a privilege. And it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And it shall not be infringed. So now we're going to have to start thinking about so-called criminals. We're going to have to start thinking about so-called convicts, ex-cons, people who have been convicted of a felony. Right now, that's a disability of your natural right to keep and bear arms, just period, end of story, no questions asked in America. There's also certain misdemeanors. Oh, yeah. The Lautenberg Amendment, which has been in effect for over 30 years now, says if you have a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, you're a prohibited person. If you're involuntarily committed, all of these different things makes it where, according to the government, you lose your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, let's talk about the fact of whether you can lose rights and whether that's different than being able to be constitutionally, through due process, being deprived of your life, your liberty, or your property. Because the first part is actually never allowed. The right to keep and bear arms supersedes, predates the United States of America, and the government can actually never, ever, ever take that right from you. People will say things, and the government will say things like, well, they lost their gun rights. And that's why they're talking about a process for gun rights restoration. It's a huge misconception, because none of these people actually ever lost their right to keep and bear arms, because that's actually inherent. But we do have, through due process of law, and this is why red flag laws are completely and utterly 100 million % unconstitutional in so many regards, because they say take the guns first, then due process. Yeah, that's what Trump said after Bondi was in his ear. See, we're back to Bondi again during Trump 45. Look, I hope Trump's changed his ways. Right now we're seeing some promising signs. I hope she's changed her ways. Maybe we're seeing some promising signs with her too. But I'll give you guys a little scoop as we read this. I'm still not 100% impressed with her because I don't even think she gets it. But maybe she's going to do a little bit better too. We will see. But no, they say it's called take the guns first, then due process, which is actually no due process at all. They're ex parte hearings where you don't even get to know that you're being charged with this until after they come to your house. Just think about this. Someone's knocking on the door. It's the police. Oh, how's it doing? How's it going, deputy, officer? We're here for your guns. Can you imagine that? And the other side still sits there over and over and over again. Relax, you're paranoid. Ain't no one coming for your guns. Yeah, unless you're ex-girlfriend, ex-wife. Oh, geez, how could there ever be a problem with that? Scorned woman? Oh, no, that could never happen. Yeah, right. But look, you could have got on a date with somebody 50 years ago, okay? It didn't go so well. You didn't have sexual relations. You might have gave her a peck on the hand, but you didn't even kiss. Now I'm going to date myself. Back when we were younger, we used to call it, did you kiss her? Yeah, man, I did. Did you French kiss? No, not yet. Maybe that'll be tomorrow or the next day. Maybe once we're married. But look, they didn't even French kiss. Do the young folks still use that saying? It doesn't matter. There never had to be any sexual component or even romantic. Look, you went on a date 50 years ago. The date lasted 5 minutes. You didn't like it. You kicked her to the curb. You left. She can look you up and red flag you. I'm not even joking. Look at red flag laws in Michigan and many other places. We're also finding out now that it's the whole house. They've been red flagging 6-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 12-year-olds. And when they do, it's like, wait a minute. Did the 6-year-old even own guns? No, of course they didn't. The one 6-year-old was yelling and tried to bite the teacher. Now, I'll tell you what, if my daughter would have tried to bite a teacher like that, and she wouldn't have even wanted to come home. Hold on a minute. Dad's waiting for you, sweetheart. No. She wouldn't have got by with that. She probably would have come in. She probably would have needed to be drinking through a juice box for about a week. You know what I'm saying, right? But anyways, to make a long story short, this kid, like the kid bit the teacher and was yelling and flailing. Who knows? But the 6-year-old gets red flagged. This is in Michigan, just so you understand this. This is in America. So they come in and they take the guns from the whole entire house. All right? These people are crazy. And by the way, after the fact, after they've thrown all your guns in a big pile on the front lawn, thrown them in a pickup truck bed, they're purposely, going to go down every bumpy dirt road they possibly can. Is it raining? Oh, well, throw it out in the unclimate controlled pole barn. I mean, some of you guys, and shout out, you're like, dude, pickup truck? Are you kidding me? They need to bring in an 18-wheeler. Oh, I'm sure they would. It's all taxpayer funded. They'll bring in as many trucks as they do. They take the guns, okay? But there's no due process at all. Then you have to come back after the fact and prove your innocence. Prove your innocence and be like, she lied, Your Honor. Well, this is a woman's state, young man. You're still guilty. Supper's ready, and I got to get home, and it's 5 till 4, and I got to go golfing with all of my big donors and with the prosecuting attorney. You guys know how this can go. Big cities, corrupt as all get out. Small town, yeah, even more corrupt in many cases. Hopefully you get a fair shake, maybe, possibly. But see, that's not due process. However, through due process of law, you can be deprived your life, your liberty, and your property, actually. Now, when I say that, and the Founding Fathers said that, they meant true due process. And many times people get in front of a jury. Well, that's if the judge will let them have a jury at all. I've been hearing of people lately going to court, and the judge says they can't even have a jury. Are you kidding me? Like what country do we literally live in at a certain point? What do you mean you can't have a jury? Oh, well, they say, but okay, even if you can get your jury, they'll say, well, you're not allowed to raise the Second Amendment as a defense. Excuse me? Whoa. I thought I was in America. No, CRS firearms. Remember the case? It was called the key card. It was a piece of metal. Even if you cut it on the lines, it didn't do anything. It malfunctioned. Insane. It gets right under my skin every time I even think about the atrocities that have been happening with the Department of Injustice over the years. Justin Irving, that was the other guy that was considered his cohort, or whatever terminology they want to use to demonize people that had a piece of artwork. This is a piece of artwork, keep in mind, we're talking about here. I remember one of the key things when John Crump was reporting on that story, when it was going on, they said they tried to raise a Second Amendment defense in court. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously, because they were trying to say these were machine guns, right? A car that has a drawing of something on it. You know what I mean? And they said, well, this is a machine gun. No, it wasn't. The whole trial was completely and utterly insane, if you think about it. They never got it to function. These were victimless crimes. And they said, well, hold on a minute. First of all, this is not a machine gun. It's a piece of artwork. And second of all, but they said, but if it is, well, then we raise a Second Amendment defense, because the Second Amendment says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And the Second Amendment, which is the second time the Constitution was amended, right? 1791, it was ratified. 14th Amendment made it crystal clear, if there was ever any doubt, that it also applies to the states. See, the T's have been crossed, the I's have been dotted. There is no debate. The Constitution says that it is the supreme law of the land. So you're sitting in a country, think about this, you're sitting in a courtroom, you're sitting in a hole, you're behind bars, you're trying to go out and see your family. You did nothing wrong. It's a victimless crime. Everybody knows it except for these tyrants that hate America. But you're sitting there and you're like, well, I raised the Second Amendment as my defense because it's the supreme law of the land and it says shall not be infringed. So what have you say about that? And then the judge says, nope, you're not allowed to raise Second Amendment defenses in court. This has been happening to so many people. So many people. You're not allowed to bring up certain case laws, they call it, certain precedent, binding court decisions. No, you literally have to go in there. And when you're in the courtroom, you have to pretend that you're no longer living in America. Just think about this. And that you don't have the right to keep and bear arms. And that there's nothing that tells the government that it shall not be infringed. This stuff's preposterous. And I see out of the corner of my eye, John Q. Public is confirming exactly what I'm talking about. And it's sad. And I wish I was wrong, but I'm not. In so many cases, they have you on a gun charge and you can't even raise the Second Amendment as a defense. Wow. Like, I mean, this is literally insane. Look, it's good to see all of you guys tonight. You guys are awesome, but just we need to think about this for a minute. We need to be smarter than this. That's literally preposterous. So what is a criminal? Now, you can deprive somebody of life, liberty, and property through due process of law. And I agree with that premise, actually. Because, yeah, we can't just have evil people running around just willy-nilly murdering people. That violates the United States law. It violates God's law. In fact, I think it violates like any moral principles that have ever been documented since the beginning of time, that just like murder is not okay, right? Obviously. Here's what's crazy about all this. They blame the gun. It's like, well, murder is already illegal. So then they ban guns, and it's like, well, hold on a minute. By their very nature, criminals don't follow laws. Oh, you say this law is going to stop it? Then why don't you outlaw murder? Oh, wait, you already have. And people still do. And they always have. Cain killed Abel with a stone, and that's how it began. And it's always going to be this way. It always is. And it's always, just remember this, going to be a battle of good versus evil. But these people come in and they say, well, hold on a minute. You're a criminal. Well, there are some really bad people out there, actually. And even through proper due process, there are people who do get convicted of things. And look, everyone's not like a very nice person. We have to face the facts of life. I wish they were. That'd be great. But come on. There are truly, truly evil people among us. There's people who are inherently dangerous. There's people who are maniacal. There's people who are literally psychos. It's true. And then there's other people, and these are bad people. And these people need swift justice, right to a speedy trial. They need to go through due process of law. All of these things need to happen in America. But then once they're convicted by a jury of their peers and they have adequate representation and all of these things that are afforded to everybody, even the scummiest, filthiest, nastiest, sinful, just abhorrent, monstrous people, yeah, they still have rights. Because when you talk about the right of the people, that's actually the right for everybody. Now, should some people be incarcerated and put in prison? Yeah, actually, there should be. There's people that literally shouldn't be among us. They're terrible, terrible people. And keep in mind, we have the right to life. We have the right to the pursuit of happiness. Do we have the right to always be happy? No, of course not. But the government is supposed to be there. And actually, it's the only reason the government's allowed to exist at all. And I'll read you from a founding document to prove that in just a little bit, is to protect our natural and God-given rights. The laws of nature and of nature's God. And nobody has the right to just murder you when you're trying to like just go about your existence. That's not cool. It's wrong. Like I said, it violates God's laws. It violates any moral code at all. But there are some people with no moral code. They're bent. They're deranged. They just need to be removed from society. Now, I would note this wasn't as big of a problem back in the Founding Fathers' days because they would quickly hang or firing squad. They believed in the death penalty at the founding of this country because certain people, hey, look, they were convicted through due process. They just shouldn't be among us anymore. And in South Carolina, just a couple weeks ago, a man was shot until he died from a firing squad. It still happens today, actually, as recently as a couple weeks ago. However, we also have a prison system. And we also have what would be called the prison industrial complex. Plenty of big money to be made with the prisons. And there's some really nasty people that are in there. Some people that are not good. A lot of these people need to be deported because it's not just our own homegrown criminals, which there are. And there's some terrible people that have been living in the United States their whole life. Maybe their descendants can be traced back to the Mayflower. However, a lot of these people that are not so good, that shouldn't be among us at all, these are people that were invited, were bribed, paid with debit cards. It's called NGOs, non-government organizations. In other words, that's a big money racket scheme. Just follow the money. The money siphons through and in and out. And It's literally crazy. Have been ushering all of these illegals, because it's illegal just to jump the border and not immigrate into the United States properly. And look, these countries haven't been sending us their best. I think it's called Tren de Aragua. There was this like, in my opinion, completely insane judge that tried to stop mid-air, essentially, this flight of them that Trump was deporting out. Are you kidding me right now? No. These are not good people. They need to get out. No, they don't even need to commit any other crimes, actually, because just by being here, they're already committing a crime. So that's how you all address those. Get out, send them back, make sure there's adequate border security to not let them back in. It needs to be merit-based. They need to take a test. They need to do whatever it takes. You need to prove you want to be an American and that you're going to be a contributor to society, not just the local fentanyl dealer that's killing all of our children. Look, if you're a fentanyl dealer, gone. I'm sorry. That should be death penalty. Fentanyl dealer, that's just too far. Look, they say the amount of it you can fit on the head of a pen can kill somebody. That's how dangerous this stuff is. It's literally so dangerous, people can get near it and die. Like I'm not even joking. You can just touch it with your skin, they say. I mean, some of you guys know more about this than I do, I'm sure, but it's like completely and utterly nuts. You're doing that, gone. So with what I'm about to say, I wanted to lay a premise down, though, that no, I don't think that everybody should just be running around with a gun. Now, hold on a minute. And the reason why is because everybody shouldn't be able to be among us. Here's the deal. If you're so hell-bent, I'll give you an example. Mr. Suarez, whoever, some of these, we're thinking of these Tren de Araguas and all this. And shout out to anyone that's a good, person with the last name of Suarez. I'm just saying. So Mr. Suarez comes in. He's killed 10,000 people directly with the fentanyl that he sold. Killed a few innocent people. Did something that some people say is even worse, to a young girl while she was jogging and all that, There's this crazy stuff. And they lock him up, and he says, you know what? Do you have any remorse? No, I don't. I'd do it again. You let me go free, I'll do it again. Well, first of all, why would you even let that person free? That's literally insane. Now, proper appeals. I do believe in the appeals. I believe in due process of law, because I just got done talking about how there's people getting locked up right now that aren't even allowed to use the Second Amendment as a defense. Everybody in prison is not a bad person. Don't forget that. Everybody who's been found guilty isn't even guilty according to America because they were never even afforded due process of law. It's not the same thing just to say that just because somebody's locked up that it's guaranteed to be this. No, it should be. And if they actually followed the Constitution and Bill of Rights, you'd be pretty darn sure. But these people that it's like, okay, if he's let free, he's going to do it again. Everybody knows it. He's bragging he will. What do? They let him free. Now, they'll hold somebody for years and years for having a drawing of something that never even could make a machine gun. It didn't even work. But then somebody else, oh yeah, murder someone on Friday, cashless bail. He's out on Saturday to do a second one. They lock him up on Saturday. He's out on Monday to do the third. This is literally insane. You know what I mean? So here's my argument. Should someone who's been convicted of a crime, well, let me back up. Do they have the right to keep and bear arms? Yes, actually they do. All people have natural rights. However, they can be deprived of the gun itself through due process of law. They can be deprived of their liberty, meaning they're not allowed to physically be among us, through due process of law. And they can actually be deprived of their very life through due process of law. That's what the Bill of Rights says. That's what the Constitution says. So, people who have been found guilty through due process of law, okay, because there really are bad people. I want to say that one more time. That, of course, they shouldn't own a gun, but it shouldn't even come to that because they should not be among us, all right? They should be deprived of their life through due process of law probably a lot more often than they are. Now, I do have some reservations of the death penalty, though, because often people don't get due process of law And it's a lot more than it should be that someone will do 20, 30 years and they're in there doing their appeals the whole time. And then like a year before they were or a month before they were going to be put to death, finally exculpatory evidence came out and they're like, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. Like literally proven that it wasn't. Look, it's a principle that started off, the Blackstone principle, all right? It's better that 9 guilty people would go free than for one person to be falsely imprisoned. And then Ben Franklin expounded on that and said, I agree, but it would be better than 100 guilty people that would go free before one person would ever be falsely convicted and imprisoned. And that's why there is supposed to be a true due process of law. And it's supposed to be very arduous for the state, meaning the government. They literally have the burden of proof to find you guilty by a jury of your peers beyond any reasonable doubt. That's the highest possible standard there is. And that does follow the Blackstone principle, which would get updated to the Ben Franklin and the Founding Fathers principle. So we need to be very careful because the Founding Fathers, and if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Just go argue with Ben Franklin and all them. I'm just saying this isn't my thoughts, but I do agree with them, by the way. It is better to let a few guilty people go free before you would ever falsely imprison somebody. However, these bad people, yeah, the Founding Fathers knew about that. That's why it says you can be deprived of your life, your liberty, and your property through due process of law. So through due process, if somebody's locked up and they're currently incarcerated, should they be able to have a gun in their jail cell? No, absolutely not. Not in their prison cell. Because again, if they've been afforded due process, they are allowed to be deprived of their liberty. That's why they're locked up. And they are allowed to be deprived of their property, which would be the firearm, the knife, the whatever. Because keep in mind, the Second Amendment is the right to keep and bear arms. It's not just guns, it's all arms. And yes, it covers warships. The Founding Fathers owned warships. You know that, right? Like privately owned ones. It's all arms. There's no limit because it says shall not be infringed. But yeah, of course, I don't think people that are locked up should be able to should be able to keep and bear arms while they're in prison. But they actually don't lose the right itself because the right's inherent. However, in America, the Founding Fathers decided, and we've decided by agreeing to still be American citizens, that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And through due process of law, they can be deprived of their life, their liberty, and their property. And these real important people, look, it's a conundrum. People say, well, we can't afford to keep them in prison forever. Well, they can be deprived of their life, too, if they're literally that bad. And I think some people do deserve the death penalty. I really do. Because there's certain people out there that what they did is just 100% unacceptable in any civilized society, no matter what it is. But then we run into things like victimless crimes. Somebody's filling out federal paperwork. They didn't cross their T's. They didn't dot their I's. Maybe they even lied a little bit, but it didn't really hurt anybody, you know? Well, there's a lot of paperwork felons and white-collar felons, and some of them are really bad people. Some people embezzled money and took people's whole savings accounts from them and took investments that the person literally worked their whole life for and drained them dry. And so I'm not saying that just because someone's a white-collar criminal, they're always good. No, there's terrible people that are white-collar. But there's other people that really didn't even have any mens rea. They're like, dude, I thought it would be okay for me to, I don't know, write off something or I didn't know I needed to fill out this form and I didn't fill out the right form. I filled out the wrong form. Oh, you're in violation of USC blah 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 dot blah 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 subsection dot 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 dot. Look, sometimes it takes you 30 seconds just to even read the whole name of the CFR. That's how convoluted it is. So just to say, and there's people that are convicted felons over that all the time. There's tons of convicted felons actually that were never deemed unsafe to be among us. They'll say, all right, we'll just plead to the felony. You'll get 6 months or a year or 3 years probation and avoid jail time. The prosecutors offer them that kind of stuff all the time. Where they're a felon per se that's not locked up at all. Now that doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, how could that felon be deprived of their natural right to keep and bear arms, and then they'd instantly come back and be like, because all felons are dangerous? That's what the government said for a long time now. And that's why they're considered prohibited persons. Well, then why are they among us? Did we outlaw stones? Did we outlaw knives? Here's the crazy part. It's like, well, hold on a minute. Did the person use a gun to kill somebody? No. They filled out an official government form and they didn't put the right numbers on the right areas. And maybe they even lied about it. Let's just go further with it. They lied and falsified a government document. Okay, well, where's the evidence that they're dangerous? Do you guys agree? Like, see, look, people don't correlate very well in so many cases. Is there any correlation that if somebody, let's just go right to the nth degree, they just bullface lied on a government document? Is there any correlation that now they're dangerous and that if they had a gun, they would instantly just start blasting people away? I don't think so. I don't think that's a correlation. Not a direct correlation, certainly. Now, maybe they murdered 10 people. They also forged documents, blah, blah, blah. But here's the crazy part. They'll go after the document guy all day long. That's the stuff they love to go after. But then these other guys, look at New York, many other places. They killed someone on Friday. And then they killed someone again on Monday. I heard about that one time in the news. And I'm like, wait a minute. He killed someone on Friday? Then he killed someone on Monday, and I'm like, oh, okay. He killed a prison guard. Wow, that must have been, whew. He must have, used a prison shank, and that does happen, in prisons. I'm like, that must have been what it was. And then I keep reading the article. No. He killed someone and did something abhorrent on 5th Street on Friday. Then by Monday, he's doing it to someone again on 6th Street. I'm like, how did he do it on 6th Street when the jail's on 1st Street? Oh, he actually, wait, what's this? Killed someone on Friday. By Saturday, he was already out on the streets with no bail at all, just out. Whoa. And look, I don't necessarily agree with bail either, but my point is that person was, so they let these people out. 90% of these crimes are from a very, very small percentage of the people. Okay. A very small subset of the American people account for a very large portion of all the violent crime. You can actually trace it down to a very specific demographic, actually. Go research it, and you can trace it down if you want. But these same people just keep going through over and over again. And what do? They take it out on a law-abiding. So, should a criminal be able to own a gun? Real simple. If they're too dangerous to be among us, they shouldn't be among us. Now it's a moot point. If they've been deprived of their liberty and their property through due process of law, they're still incarcerated. Now, let's say they've served their time. All right. In theory, they say a prison or jail could rehabilitate somebody. The stuff I've read, that's usually actually not the case, but maybe, I guess, it could be in some instances. But it's a whole scam and a whole racket, and rarely does it do that at all, actually. Say they've privatized a lot of the prisons now, and that's why I talk about the prison industrial complex, because look into all of that, how much big money there is to be made by locking people up. Good thing we ended slavery, right? No, we didn't. The 13th Amendment didn't end slavery at all, actually. Because now anybody can be a slave if you're incarcerated, and just follow all that. Just look through it. It's a huge, huge money to be made. Look at how Kamala, do you guys remember her? Does anyone remember a lady named Kamala? Yeah, back when she was the AG, prosecuting attorney in California, they were keeping people in prison beyond their sentence. And they literally did a whole investigation and found out. Now, she didn't get in any trouble. Like, whatever, of course. Of course, she didn't get in any trouble. You fill out a piece of paperwork, you draw something on a metal card, oh, you could get locked up real quick, but not her. Look, they were keeping people in prison for their free slave labor to fight forest fires and all these things after their sentence was over. Go dig into that rabbit hole if you want to have some fun. It's not so fun, but I'm just saying. All right. So yeah, if the person's in prison, well, then they're in prison. No, I don't think they should be able to bring a gun into the jail cell. But now they're done with their 20 years and it's time to get out. Well, if they're reformed and they're a good person now, maybe they weren't then, but they are now. Maybe some people can change. And if the person has been rehabilitated, they've done the crime, they've done their time, if they've now been deemed safe enough to be on the streets, then why wouldn't they have the right to keep and bear arms? Of course, they still have the right. But why would they be prohibited by the government? Well, the first comeback is always, well, hold on a minute. This person's a, quote, violent felon. Oh, are they? Then why are they among us if they're so violent? Oh, no, they're not violent anymore. They're not violent anymore. In fact, like puppies blush when they see them. They're so friendly now. You could go to the pet store and find the cutest puppies. This person's now even cuter and friendlier than all of those combined. Okay. And look, that can happen sometimes. Okay, then why can't they go buy a gun the next day? Well, because they're a violent felon. Oh, they're violent? Then why are they out on the streets? Oh, well, they're not violent anymore, so we let them out. Okay, so why can't they own a gun? Because they're a violent felon. And I'm going to spare you because it just keeps going in circles in my head. And it's hard to reconcile it. Look, if the person's so dangerous that if they had their hands on a gun, it would be inevitable that they would do something horrendous. Something that we would all agree with if we have any moral compass at all that's wrong, like murder and things of that level. And even other things, robbery. You don't have the right to rob somebody. You don't have the right to do many things like this. If it's inevitable they're going to do these atrocious, abhorrent things, then it goes right back to my first question. Then why are they among us? And yes, it's a very circular argument. And look, I'm not insulting your intelligence. I'm just kind of doing it just so we can think about how this actually works. So look, if you're too dangerous to be among us, you shouldn't be among us. And there are certain crimes that the founding fathers thought so, and society still today, for the most part, thinks is okay. That in certain cases, sometimes you do end up, it's called death penalty. You have to be very careful with that, though. And we have to stay with the principles, though. We have to stay with the principles. Blackstone, all right? It's better that 9 guilty people go free than for one innocent person to ever be punished. And then that actually makes sense to me, you know? And then Ben Franklin and the founding fathers of our country, they come right back and they say, no. We're with you, Blackstone, but it's better than 100 innocent people, right? About 100 guilty people, I'm sorry. It's better that 100 guilty people be set free than for one innocent person to suffer. So let's think about that for a minute, and then we're going to get onto this executive order. I wanted to go off on that whole little thing because when you read the language, and we're going to have some quotes from the Attorney General Pam Bondi, I'm not exactly sure if she understands what rights are. You know what's insane? It's really, really hard to find a government man anywhere that actually truly understands what rights are or is willing to be quoted on what they actually are. So we're going to get into this in 1 second. In the meantime, I'm going to read a couple super chats, which I do appreciate, and I thank you guys for being sponsors of the channel tonight. We have John Q. Public with a super chat and a channel member. Well, thank you, sir. He says, pending Michigan MCL 750.227, convicted felon / prohibited person for not applying for a government permission / privilege granted issue license permit. That sucks, man. Did you hurt anybody, John Q. Public? Is the crime that you're charged with by the state of Michigan, is it a victimless crime, sir? Who's your victim? Who did you hurt? I'm just curious, and you don't have to say it publicly, but it does seem like with your comments that you might be more than willing to share. If not, then just ignore me because your private business is your private business. Did you hurt anybody, John Q. Public? Or did you not fill out the proper paperwork? You guys know in Michigan and many other states, right? If you go to a class, which isn't training, it really isn't. And shout out to all my CPL instructor friends out there. Like, I get it, but look, I don't stand for CPLs. I'm just saying there's some people that do CPL training that are really good, like instructors. So I'm not ripping on all you guys. But it's just like you're all just playing the game, though, right? Like anyone that goes to the class, you go to the class. All right, get up here, Susie Q. Can you hit the broadside of a barn? She's like, I don't think so. Not with my 38 special. I can't hit the broadside of a barn. Where am I? What's going on? Well, here you go. Let's give the little lady a 22. Look, I've been to these classes. I've been to a lot of them. All right, so then they give her like a 22. It's like, all right, can you hit the broadside of a barn? And she's like, well, maybe if you put me inside the barn, I could. All right, very well. So they put her in the barn. All right, pull the trigger up. Look, she hit the broadside of the barn from the inside. There you go. Now you're a proficient shooter. Then they give you a little of this, a little of that. But here's the kicker. You got to go in and you got to pay the government. You got to pay them a fee. Now, hold on a minute. How would you guys feel? And I'm using the word feel on purpose because that's the problem with this country. Too many people lack brains, so they just go by their feels. And when I say you guys, I don't mean like you and you specifically, just the public at large. All these sheep out there that would way rather have some peaceful slavery than a little bit of dangerous liberty. You know what I mean? They're all going around. Well, I guess. Oh, my pin's getting smaller. It's okay. Am I safe? Yeah. The fox guard in the hen house is always the best idea. But look. You pay the government $99, $150, different prices, different places, all this. And they're like, all right, here you go. You were able to go through and answer a few questions. I think the test is open book, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I mean? It's like, you failed the test. I couldn't read your handwriting. You meant to circle A, right? You know, for those of you listening, I'm doing the hard wink. Like, it's a test. Well, hold on a minute, though. What would you all say? All these sheep out there in society. Ask your friends this, by the way. Any of your sheep friends. Say, how would you feel? And you have to use the word, how would you feel? Because people that can't think, trust me, here's the problem. We can beat these people with logic every single time, 100% of the time. But that's kind of where we go wrong, you too, because like most of these people aren't capable of thinking at all. They're only capable of their feels. So say, how would you feel? How would you feel, Miss Susie Democrat, if you had to take yourself a nice little competency test and lay down $100 to $150 where you could get that voter ID card and be able to vote? Excuse me, I have the natural right to vote. Do you really? Well, first of all, the founding fathers said all men are created equal. But by the way, Susie, second of all, there is actually no right to vote in the Bill of Rights. Oh, isn't that interesting? But the right to keep and bear arms, it shall not be infringed. But a poll tax is considered the most preposterous, illegal thing of all time. If somebody just on principle alone said, all you have to do is just bring 1 penny. Now, you guys know a penny, right? It costs more than a penny to make a penny. And Trump said he's getting rid of the penny. So sorry for all you numismatic collectors, because pennies are a whole interesting thing. I see my friend Red in the chat. And Red has a very fine taste in coins, actually. And he did give me a gift of a very beautiful coin that I'll always cherish. But you know what I'm saying, Red? People that are into their coins, and I think G23 might be into coins. A shout out. But look, like collecting pennies is actually a thing. They're gonna get rid of it. It's worth. Look, they say it costs more than a penny to make a penny. But if you were to take the 1 penny, just think about this and say you have to pay 1 penny. And the test you have to pass to be able to vote is just to like make a noise, just grunt. Look, we can't set the bar too high, you know. Like you don't even have to say words. You just have to walk up and make some kind of like audible noise. And that's the test. So if you just walk up and go, and then hold your penny up and put it in the jar, you're allowed to vote. Just think about this for a minute. Oh, they go berserk. They go insane. But the second time the supreme law of the land was amended and it says shall not be infringed, somehow in America, it's supposed to be legal for them to charge you a permit fee, make you pass a test. Now, I believe people should be proficient with their firearm. Why? Because the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And all of you know that. That's why you carry a gun, right? Because look, when seconds matter, police are usually only minutes away. And they usually come to take a report of something that's already happened, right? Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, dude, why do you carry a gun? I'm like, because carrying a cop is just too heavy. You know what I mean? So look, You should be proficient because good lives are on the line. And you never know. You're never going to need to protect yourself or your family or your loved ones until all of a sudden you do. No, you don't have the right to menace people with your firearm, innocent people. You don't have the right to murder. You don't have the right to do armed robbery. But look, all of this stuff's already covered. It's already illegal to do any and all of these things. If you walk up brandishing a knife and rob somebody at knife point, already illegal. Okay? The gun itself, it's just a tool. It's neither good nor evil. But good people many more times per year, actually, and they never, ever, ever want to admit to this, save good lives with guns. Actually, way more than bad people take good lives. Now, with that said, though, if you had to pay 1 penny and just walk up and go, ooga, looga, like, I mean, okay, fine. That's too much for some people. Again, most of these people can't think. They only can feel. You just have to walk up and go, ugh, and drop a penny in. Oh, people lose their minds. We'd literally have a civil war in this country if they brought something like that up. But somehow it's still fine to make people pass a test. Okay? Pass a test and pay a fee. In many states, about half the states in this country, still make you have some form of a CPL, CCW, CWP, whatever it's called. That's wrong. So when we talk about should a criminal own a gun, well, hold on a minute. How's a guy a criminal if he's just exercising his natural right to keep and bear arms? He didn't want to fill out paperwork. He didn't have the money or didn't want to pay a fee to do it. Oh, geez, this reminds me of the founding fathers that didn't want to have all the permits and pay all the fees of, at that time, the current King of England. You know what's crazy? If you even acted remotely like a founding father of this country, you'd be the first one that was a criminal. In fact, the founding fathers were all criminals. And they all would have been hanged by their neck until they died, or if they would have lost. Probably would have never even heard about them had they lost, actually. France was a good ally. That's true. There were a bunch of things that kind of factored in, but at the end of the Declaration of Independence, it talks about a divine providence. It took the founding fathers decades to get it together, but at a certain point, they said, look, we have the colonists on our side, we have God on our side. They were like, wow, that's a beautiful thing. Then Thomas Jefferson wrote, and they signed on and declared, literally signed their name to a death sentence when they signed that Declaration of Independence. It said all men are created equal, and they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. These were criminals. You know what would have happened, right? To all of these people, they would have literally all been dead. There's not even really any question about it. Had they lost the war. So in a country that was founded by criminals, we now have people who have been criminalized for exercising their natural, God-given right to keep and bear arms that is enshrined in the Second Amendment. Not granted. It tells the government, don't tread on my right to keep and bear arms. That's what the Second Amendment says. Don't tread on me shall not be infringed, period. And that's it. There's nothing more after. It doesn't say the right of the law-abiding citizen to keep and bear arms. Now, the founding fathers could have written that down. That's the crazy part. They could have written down the law-abiding citizen if they wanted to. But if you look at the founding fathers in that era, in that time, that's the last thing they would have written down. Okay? These were no longer law-abiding subjects of the King of England. When Paul Revere wrote in and said the redcoats are coming, what were they coming for? They were coming for their gunpowder. They were coming for their munitions. They were coming for their arms. And they shot back. It's called the shot heard around the world. There were a couple battles that happened essentially back to back around the same time. Massachusetts, Lexington, Concord Bridge, and Lexington Green. That's not like okay to shoot back at technically your own military, because at that time, see, everyone thinks that Paul Revere said the British are coming. No, he didn't say that, and he wouldn't have said that, because at that time, he was still a proper Brit himself. And all of these founding fathers were. The redcoats, the British regular army are coming, and they're coming for our guns. And they were all criminals for fighting back. I wonder who thinks, and who of you watching right now? I mean, we can have a good conversation about this. Who thinks that the founding fathers meant the right of the people, except all criminals would not enjoy that right? The right of the people, except criminals, to keep and bear arms. Do you guys think they would have said that when they were actually criminals themselves? Let me know, because some people do actually think that's what they meant to say. Well, the founding fathers didn't have the words. No, they had the words. They had the best words. And they kept the Second Amendment so short because they knew if they made it longer, it could have been picked apart by courts later on. Yet here we are. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? John Q. Public with another super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. He says, shall not be infringed with a license or permit process is not gun violence or a dangerous criminal offense. It is mala prohibitum, not mala in se. It's true. Look at this guy. Wow. Super generous super chat. Man, look at it. His name's Red, and he's a good friend of mine. Nice to see you, man. Hope you're doing good. Make sure you guys are following Red, a band talk, over on the X, okay? Over on the X. He makes some good posts and shares some good information, actually. But his name's Red, and he just left us a Red super chat. He says, love you, bud. Can't be here with my schedule lately, but miss you. Howdy, chat. Love you all also. Well, thanks so much, dude. I hope you're doing good. This guy has a really nice currency and coin collection, by the way. I happen to know that. Thanks, Red. I really appreciate you, dude. And I hear you, man. I was out there blowing leaves and raking leaves until essentially dark tonight. And, man, stuff happens, dude. Spend time with your lovely wife, and we'll be here. You know what I mean? We'll be here when you want to hang out. But thank you so much, Red. Wow, look at that guy. That's awesome, dude. Thank you. Thank you. John Q. Public with a super chat. He says, no, I did not harm anybody. 17-year-old military and law enforcement vet. Ooh, that's where you went wrong, man. Serving your country, I guess, you know. I mean, I'm saying that sarcastically. Seems like they come after the veterans more than anybody, don't they? Well, hold on. You didn't hurt anybody. Well, what do you guys think? John Q. Public. He's talking about it right here in the chat tonight. He's been talking about it in the chats for a while. He's facing some serious charges right now in the state of Michigan. I hope not, man, and I wish you well. I do. He may be a prohibited person here soon. Victimless crime, carrying a firearm without a permit. Can you imagine that? Why is it? I'm going to get a lot of thumbs down tonight, guys. So if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up button, man, oh man, am I going to get some hate for this? But that's all right. Because, you know, I mean, look, if we don't agree, you guys can chime in how you want. It's cool. Just don't chime in and say, spit it out. Why isn't this a 5-minute video? Those people, those whiners, they can get lost. See ya, persona non grata. But like disagreeing with me is totally fine. I promise. You're just not allowed to say, why isn't this video 5 minutes long? I mean, come on. With all these atrocities, their biggest worry in life, wouldn't it be nice? Your biggest worry in life is 2A EDU's live streams 2 hours long. It's my favorite 2 hours of the weekend, excuse me, and thank you very much. You know what I mean? But look, I get hate whenever I say stuff like this. People are like, well, hold on a minute, 2A EDU. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have my CPL. I've dotted my I's. I've crossed my T. I'm like, whoopty shit. You know what I mean? Just think about this for a minute. In the United States of America, we're not supposed to have titles of nobility. We're not supposed to have lords and ladies. And we're not supposed to live in the caste system or the tiered system. And you never, ever, 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 ever have to buy a permit to exercise a natural God-given right. Period. End of story. And the fact that we still have permits in this state to keep and bear arms, and that there's good people who never hurt anybody, by the way. The only thing they did is follow the supreme law of the land. Just think about this for a minute. Now, I don't know all the facts of your case, John Q. Public, but I do know there's many cases like this. There's all kinds of people right now that all they did, the only crime they committed is following the supreme law of the land. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and now they're a felon. Now they're prohibited for the rest of their life. Yeah, should there be this gun rights restoration? I hate that phrase and I reject it because you never lose your rights, but should all the hurdles and all the prohibitions be removed from these people? Yeah, they should actually. They should. And Bonnie better get with it. And I hope she starts to understand the Second Amendment a little bit better. And I hope she actually finally one day will actually understand what rights are and not privileges. Because when you have to ask for permission, that's a privilege. All right? You don't have to ask anybody. See, in a tyrannical government, you have to bribe the government money to exercise the natural right that they're strictly prohibited from infringing on. And if you live in Michigan, the state constitution of 1963 would also agree with what I'm saying. And it simply says every person has the right to keep and bear arms in defense of himself and the state. It doesn't say as long as he buys a permit. It doesn't say the law-abiding citizen has the right. Look, every person has the right to keep and bear arms. That's what the state of Michigan's constitution says. And it also professes that it's the supreme law of the land. And the supreme law of the land in the United States says the right to keep and bear arms, it shall not be infringed. And we have people that are convicted felons because they literally were following the supreme law of the land. Think about this for a second. Yeah. Who's the criminal? The person that's following the law or the person that's breaking the law? Well, is the person breaking the law the one that follows shall not be infringed? Or every person has the right to keep and bear arms in defense of himself or the state? Or is the person that's prosecuting them the criminal? Is it the judge that presides over it? Is it the cop that arrested them? Is it the lawmakers who make these tyrannical, unconstitutional gun control laws? Think about all that for a minute. And I'm just asking you to think about it. Chime in all you want, but you don't even need to answer. It's just, I just would ask you all to think about that for a second. People are criminals for following the supreme law of the land in so many cases. Now, if you just joined the stream, welcome. Good to have you here. Go back and listen earlier because I was very clear. There's very evil people, okay? Everybody doesn't commit victimless crimes. There's people who do abhorrent things. And through due process of law, those people can be deprived their liberty, their property, up to and even including their life. And they should be deprived of maybe some of, if not all three of those things in certain instances. I completely agree with that. But it has to actually be real due process. Not people in front of court on a gun charge, and the judge is like, you can't use the Second Amendment as your defense. Are you kidding me? What country are you in right now? Think about this. If you're in Canada and commit a crime and you're using a gun, you can't use the Second Amendment of the United States as your defense because you're not in America. Duh, obviously. Well, then what country are we in? When you're here supposedly in America and you're still not allowed to use the Second Amendment as your defense? Look, I don't know John Q. Public personally, but I will tell you this. I know for a fact in many of these cases, they say you're not allowed to use the Second Amendment as your defense. And in Michigan, you're not allowed to use Article 1, Section 6. It's like, excuse me? So I'm not allowed to follow the Constitution in America? Nope. Fun to learn with a super chat and a channel member. Thanks, man. I really appreciate the support. He says, love your energy tonight. Well, heck yeah, man. No, this stuff gets me riled up, dude. You know it does. He says, we'll miss you tomorrow on locals, but we'll replay on Sunday. Cool, man. Cool. Now I'm hoping. I hope Pam Bondi. What do you guys think of her, by the way? People call her all kinds of things. Some people call her Blondie. Do you think she's getting it now? We're going to finish reading this article. It's okay. It's okay. Someone's like, read the article. No. You guys can read if you want, but we're talking about much more important things. But let's get into the current news here. Thank you. Fun to learn. John Q. Public with one more super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. He says, sir, it was for open holstered carry of a snub 38. Again, I don't know all the facts, but look, here's the thing. I asked him, did he hurt anybody? If he didn't hurt anybody, he didn't hurt anybody. These victimless crimes, paperwork crimes. All right, we're going to go back to this article. And I'll read the previous sentence for those of you who just joined. Instead, it promises to create a process for gun rights restoration at some point down the line. Revising 28 CFR 0.130 and removing 27 CFR 478.144. See, I wasn't being hyperbolic earlier. Some of the names of these laws are so long, you could never even possibly pronounce the name. You know what I mean? You couldn't even Red, literally. Could you even enjoy your beautiful coin collection if you tried to even take the time to pronounce all these laws? I mean, come on. You guys do know this, that like everyone in this whole country, no matter how perfect and holier than thou they think they are, everybody's committing like multiple crimes every single day. It's literally crazy. There's so many laws in this country, you couldn't possibly ever know all of them. But I'll continue. Further provides the department a clean slate on which to build a new approach to implementing 18 USC 925 (C), the baggage of no longer necessary procedures. Example, a requirement to file an application in triplicate. We're back to this again. It sounds like more victimless crimes. In triplicate, just think about this for a minute. Someone's like, oh man, I just got denied on my next check. Why is that? Because I only filled out the form twice to the government. But CFR 27 CFR 48.144 (b), it said triplicate. I'm a prohibited person. I only filled out 2 copies of the form instead of 3. Yeah, that's sure in the spirit of shall not be infringed. Give me a break. And Bondi wrote, with such a clean slate, the department anticipates future actions, including rulemaking consistent with the applicable law. Dude, the rulemaking was literally codified into law in 1791. And it says the right of the people that keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. But yet here we are to give full effect to 18 U.S.C. 925C. Look, I'm glad they're doing this, though, in all seriousness, because there's real people out there that are federally prohibited from being able to just go to the gun shop and buy a gun. And they have to live in the shadows and always worry about getting busted when they're carrying their gun around. Because look, guys, these laws only affect the law-abiding. Just don't ever forget that. And when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will own guns. Don't forget that either. Think about that. When guns are outlawed, only outlaws will own guns. This is a good thing if they do this. We shouldn't have to be. That's what I've been talking about this whole time. It shouldn't have to be this way. Yet here we are. Look, if she can pull this off, this will help a lot of people. Okay? I'll have to see it to believe it. All right? I'll have to see it to believe it. Now let me ask you, let me finish this sentence here. And I have an honest question for you guys, okay? With such a clean slate, the department anticipates future actions, including rulemaking consistent with applicable law, to give full effect to 18 USC 925C while simultaneously ensuring that violent or dangerous individuals remain disabled from lawfully acquiring firearms. Does she mean she's not going to have them among us? Because I was pretty clear on my thoughts on that earlier. Now, here's the thing. They call her Pam Bondi. This is a family-friendly channel. Shout out to all the kids that are watching. Look, they're like, here's what's going to happen. All of us are going to get old, and one day we're all going to die. And we need the young bucks and young gals to pick up the torch and keep trudging on. So that's why I try not to curse in this channel. I think maybe accidentally I did curse once tonight, but it's okay. Your kids will hear it on the playground. But I try to keep the channel family-friendly. So let's go back to this Attorney General. Like all these women that are in charge of all this nowadays. They call her many things. I call her Pam Bondi. Sometimes I call her Pam Blondie. I don't know, man. Like, look, how much of a chance do I need to give her, guys? Can you guys give me some advice on this? Because here's the problem, man. Let me know what you think. Somebody said, man, you need to give Blondie 3 months because she's doing too much important stuff. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. Like 3 months though. And they're like, yeah, there's more important stuff that needs. I'm like, more important than the Second Amendment? How much time do I need to give her? Now, look, I say this with utmost respect to her, but when I call her Blondie, I'm being extremely nice. See, here's the thing. When I'm too nice to these people, I'll get some hate. 2AE to you, you're being too nice. And then once in a while, actually, I've never done this, but once in a while, someone thinks I'm not being so nice. I've actually always been nice all the time. I really have. But sometimes someone says, 2AE to you, you weren't so nice. I'm too nice. I'm not nice enough. Whatever. But here's the thing. Some people call her Blondie. Here's the problem. I'm more of a brunette guy, you know? I'm more of a brunette guy. And I assume they put her up there in office for us to look at, or woman, get in there and make me a sandwich. Look, she should just say, look, this is what her letter should say. I'm being serious. Her letter should say, guys, I'm too busy to write a long letter because I'm too busy making 2AE to you a sandwich right now. But that's okay because the Second Amendment already says shall not be infringed. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. I actually wouldn't let her cook for me either because I'm more of a brunette guy. And my wife's a lot prettier than her. And my beautiful daughter. Are you kidding me? Like, wow. But look, so I'm just not much of I'm not into blondes. I'm just being honest. I'm not that into blondes. So am I like, am I, how long do I need to give her? Just tell me how wonderful she is, please. I want to know. I might be being a little biased. All right. Bondi said she would not immediately delegate the restoration to a new agency. However, she promised that DOJ would produce recommendations to Congress for how to best fund a gun rights restoration process. Look, and again, one more time, this is going to help a lot of people. All right. And I hope this will go through. But yet again, the Attorney General, she doesn't understand what rights are. No, you can't restore people's rights because you can't take people's rights away. All right? What she means to say, I think, and again, this will help a lot of good people, and I hope this goes through. But here's the problem. She doesn't understand that rights cannot be taken. You could deprive somebody of their life, their liberty, and their property through due process of law. But the Founding Fathers knew that you could never deprive somebody of their rights because these are certain unalienable rights. And when something's unalienable, it means it literally, look, whoever you believe created you, whoever brought you into this world, gave you your rights. Your rights are granted by God. And that is the only thing that will be able to take them away from you. And that's literally the spirit that this country was founded on, actually. So it just always gets on my nerves when they say to best fund a gun rights restoration process. All right. Here's a quote. The department respects congressional appropriations prerogatives. Back to the money again. Why does there have to be so much money involved in a natural God-given right? We should charge 1 penny. I'm being serious. Try charging 1 penny for people to vote and watch how they go so insane. Watch how insane they go. But it's all about the money here. Well, I'll continue. The department respects congressional appropriations prerogatives, and it expects its forthcoming plan under Executive Order 14206 to include legislative proposals to modify or rescind the rider, she said. Now, look, I have to admit, I've been trying to forget about this guy. Do you guys remember the former vice president? I just literally read that. It was so wordy. I thought I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize pressure. Like this almost like that was wordy. Wow. I'm gonna have to hire like 35 accountants and 18 lawyers. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna use these super chats to go back and advocate for the Second Amendment at the state capitol and other places, but I would need a dozen lawyers to. Okay, let's keep reading. It is also undertaking a broader examination of how to address the drain on resources that caused Congress to impose the rider in the first instance, including by addressing any potential inefficiencies in the regulatory process created by 26 CFR 178.144. All right, look, this is going to help a lot of good people. I hope this goes through, but I wish I lived in a country that just simply said shall not be infringed. I mean, just think about this for a minute. That's much more simpler. I like it a lot more. I need some honest feedback, guys. Am I just being a little hard on her because I'm not into blondes? Maybe if she was a brunette, I'd praise her words more. I don't know. Let's keep reading here. Probably not, though, but I only like brunettes that love the Second Amendment, just to make that clear. A federal law bars anyone with a felony or domestic violence misdemeanor conviction. Okay. Now look. Most people, as soon as they think of domestic violence, he went home and he beat his wife. And there are guys that do that. He had to tell her twice. I mean, 3 times. I don't know. Look, some of them deserved it. Some didn't deserve it. The circumstances are going to be different in different cases, okay? But there are some really bad people that are doing physical harm to people that, yeah, they probably should be out of here, Evil exists. I want to make that very clear. I'm not naive. Evil exists. Trust me. Well, we're talking about the government tonight, so we obviously know evil exists. How many Indians has the government killed? Do you guys remember what the government did in Ruby Ridge, in Waco, Texas? So trust me, there's evil people in this world. And then there's the government, and I'm sorry, I just repeated myself. Misdemeanor domestic violence. Michigan just passed domestic violence reform, though. Here's the problem. And look, we can quibble over, and look, the facts of every case are different. It's like, dude, he gave his old lady one in the teeth. Okay, there's a set of circumstances where, yeah, he needs to be locked up and deprived because he's that violent, whatever. But then there's other circumstances where it's like, dude, I told you I don't want to have to tell you twice. I mean, there's different reasons why. Look, there's bad people. I want to emphasize that one more time. But here's the problem with domestic violence. Michigan has literally just revamped its domestic violence laws where there's a whole slew of laws. Okay, a whole slew of offenses that aren't violent at all. You can make an unsolicited phone call after 9 at night. You can enter the wrong person's ice fishing shanty. Whoa. And become what's considered a domestic violence offender in the state of Michigan. Now, you can key someone's car, and that's domestic violence. Now, should you key someone's car? No. No, that's not okay to do. That person worked hard for their property, and you have no right just to vandalize it, just to be mean. And I don't like mean people at all, actually. That's really what it comes down to. When I had to give like that predicate earlier tonight, where I'm like, by the way, for all of you who are going to be mad that this lasts more than 5 minutes, like don't even watch, unsub, get out, go back to the beginning if you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's like, really, it just comes down to like, I don't even like mean people. Like if people were just a lot more nice, everything would be a lot nicer, but everyone's not so nice. That's the problem. And there are really bad people. But here's the thing. It all gets watered down and it all gets conflated when one person literally like beat someone within inches of their death and they're a terrible person and that's not okay and they shouldn't be among us. And they're considered convicted of domestic violence the same as somebody who made an unsolicited phone call after 9 p.m. This domestic violence thing's gone rogue. There's tons and tons of people, I want you guys to know this, that are prohibited from owning and possessing a firearm, according to the United States of America, for the rest of their life that never did anything violent. That's the word game. That's the word soup. And that's why it actually matters. And that's why, I think this does deserve almost a 2-hour conversation because it's not just one thing. So as soon as somebody, arguing against me would say, hold on a minute, 2A EDU. You want someone that beats their wife to be able to own a gun? And I'll be like, well, do you want someone who made an unsolicited phone call, a commercial phone call? Like, hey, we've got windows on sale. Buy 2, get 1 free. Ooh, it's 9:01 p.m. That person's considered domestic violence. He's going through cold calling people. Unsolicited commercial phone call to somebody He went on a date with somebody 50 years ago. Just think about this. He's going through calling all the numbers in the phone book. He's working for XYZ. He's working for 2A Windows. And he's like, hey, buy 2 windows, get 1 free. And she's like, well, hold on a minute. Is this Johnny? And you're like, well, yes, it is. How did you know? We went on a date once. The year was 1972. And you looked at me and said, I don't like the way you ran that vacuum, woman. This is over. Me and you ain't going to happen. Perfectly good reason to ditch her, I would think. So all of a sudden she's like, and I've been holding this vendetta ever since. And I have the timestamp. You called me to try to sell me windows at 9:01 p.m. Judge goes in there and says, off with your head. No, they'll come after a person like that, of course. Look, that falls under a misdemeanor of domestic violence in the state of Michigan. But I'm going to continue. Federal law bars anyone with a felony or domestic violence misdemeanor conviction or a disqualifying mental health record from possessing guns or ammo. Well, geez, Pete, if they're disqualified on mental health, none of the government should be able to own guns. Wow. Bondi, especially ATF agents, Bondi did not offer specific criteria for how those prohibited from owning firearms under federal law could petition to store their rights. So we're not getting a lot of concretes here. However, she's talking. However, she did say the decision would be, quote, based on a combination of the nature of their past criminal activity and their subsequent and current law-abiding behavior. I wonder how this could affect somebody who was just carrying a gun according to the Constitution and didn't have a permit. Now, they might have to have current law-abiding behavior and buy more permits, but look, guys, I can be critical of her, I hope, but still think that, if they can figure this out and get their crap straight, some of this stuff's so wordy, you can't even understand it. I do hope they do have this restoration. I'm using huge air quotes because I don't like the terminology, but restoration of rights, it's about darn time because there's some really, really good people out there that are really, really suffering. And they need to be able to defend themselves, okay? Everybody who has a criminal record is not a bad person. I want to repeat that. Many of them are very bad people too. And if they're too dangerous to own a gun, they shouldn't be among us. It's literally that simple for me. They shouldn't be among us. Mike Hammond just came in with a super chat. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, man. And a channel member. And he's a local supporter as well. Shout out to all my supporters, guys. Thank you so much. I was supposed to be going out of town today, but you know what? Didn't quite have the money to do it. I've been spending a lot more money focusing on the Capitol and all that, and I'm going to continue to do so. And thank you so much, guys, for making it possible, because I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. Hope all of you are too. As much as I believe the states should be allowed to make their own laws, they should not be able to make laws that contradict the Constitution of the United States. Oh, 100%. That's the 10th Amendment. States' powers, right? Not states' rights. No government has rights. We talked about that last week. Only people have rights. But yeah, unless it's specifically enumerated in the Constitution, right, Mike? Okay, then the powers go to the states and then to we the people. Well, here's the problem for the states with these gun control states. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution says shall not be infringed. Yes, the states have no power, no legitimate power or legitimate authority to pass gun control at all. And I believe in federalism. I believe in having a very, very weak government. And actually, in just a second here, when I'm done with this letter from Blondie here, I'm going to read something else that's very, very important to the founding of this country. Like this little excerpt here is so important. It's not even funny. And it talks about exactly what we're talking about. All right, let's see here. The department simultaneously recognizes that no constitutional right is limitless. Consequentially, wait a minute. Is this a quote? Hold on a minute. Wow. Well, it says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And we have due process of law, which I've said 365 times tonight. Because invariably there's always someone. Two-way EDU. You think someone that murdered 29 people should be allowed to have a gun? No, they shouldn't be among us. Okay? That person should be after due process of law. Okay, that's very, very important. Due process of law. But the Second Amendment doesn't say law-abiding citizen, actually. And there is no comma after shall not be infringed. So, let me read this quote one more time. And I wish Blondie would just read the Second Amendment. I wish all these people would. I wish the Supreme Court would actually just read the Second Amendment. Okay, here's a quote from herself. The department simultaneously recognizes that no constitutional right is limitless. You know what? She is actually right the way she worded it. If it's a constitutional right, if it's something that's granted to you by government, of course it's not limitless. But it goes back to I don't agree her predicating clause. See, her predicating clause is no constitutional right is limitless. See, the devil's in the details here. Because if it was granted by the Constitution, then the government would actually be able to limit it as much as it wanted. But the Second Amendment does not grant you the right to keep and bear arms. No, it just tells the government the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Which makes the whole rest of what she's saying moot in this sentence because the Constitution doesn't grant the right. The department simultaneously recognizes that no constitutional right is limitless. Consequently, it also supports existing laws that ensure, for example, that violent and dangerous persons remain disabled from lawfully acquiring firearms, Bondi said. All right. Yes, if they're violent and they're dangerous, yes, they can be deprived of their property. They can be deprived of their liberty. They can't have a gun when they're in prison. Founding fathers were fine with that. But here's the crazy part. Look, founding fathers were fine with that. Just to make this clear, guys. While they're locked up, after going through due process of law, they can be deprived of property. Okay? They can be deprived of liberty up to and including life itself. But as soon as they got out from being locked up and they were no longer considered a menace to society, they handed their guns back immediately. Prohibited person was not a thing. If you're free among us, you're not prohibited. That's how this country was founded, and that's actually the way it worked for a very long time. Now, this does not contradict what she said, that violent and dangerous persons remain disabled. Yeah, of course they should remain disabled if they're currently, and they really are actually dangerous, and they really are actually violent. And one more time, I'm not naive, guys, at all. There are truly dangerous and there are truly violent people out there. They should not be allowed to be among us. And if it's literally like no questions asked that they've been reformed and they're just a great person now, then why the heck can't they have a gun? Okay? I'd rather have someone who's like the best person ever, who has like a very strict code of conduct about knowing right from wrong. I'd rather have them be armed. They might help save my life one day. They might be one of the best people to help protect our country from a tyrannical government. So there you go. But again, I don't want anyone to get the wrong thing here. If they can get this through, this is going to be a good thing for a lot of people that aren't so bad. All right. So I do support this going through. Okay. I do support this going through. I'll have to see it to believe it. But so don't think that I'm against this document. I'm not. It's just, I really wanted to have a fundamental conversation about what rights are and what they're not, and the difference between rights and privileges. The plan to restore gun rights of some convicts, especially nonviolent felons, has been a long-term fight for gun rights activists. It's weird, too, because the Second Amendment just says arms, period, but maybe there's state laws that are different. Let me know, guys. But I don't think they prohibit people from owning like a knife if they're a felon. It's just a gun. They don't cut off their hands and feet. Even though here's the crazy thing. Like, they have this classification. They call it an assault rifle. Big air quotes. I don't agree with that premise, but look, they call it an assault weapon. These are like semi-automatic firearms that don't even qualify what they say they do, but whatever. These so-called assault rifles that are actually semi-autos, one more time, the scary ones with the shoulder thing that goes up and the clip-is-in and all this. I mean, more people are killed. This is according to the government's own stats, all right? More people are killed every year with hands and feet than they are any kind of rifle. Well, it's true. But Pam Bondi supports 18, 19, and 20-year-olds being banned from owning these certain types of firearms. Now, maybe she's changed her mind. Hold on. She has supported it literally on the record in her former job. But she's changed her mind to EDU? Oh, man, hope. Let's all hope. A little hope with a lot of cope. You know what I mean? Well, maybe we'll see, though. We'll see. Maybe she has. Maybe she has. But like, look, they're so dangerous since more people are killed with hands and feet every year than rifles. Why don't they just cut off all their hands and feet when they get out of prison? Now, I'm not necessarily suggesting that, although for some people it'd probably be a good idea. I mean, statistics would prove it'd be more effective if they cut off people's hands and feet than to ban certain types of rifles. I mean, I don't know. They all love to use their statistics. Just think about that for a minute. Since the Supreme Court handed down a new standard for reviewing modern gun laws, in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, right? People talk about that still. Nonviolent felons have won a series of lower court victories against what has amounted to a lifetime ban on gun ownership. Brian Range, a Pennsylvania man who lost his gun rights for lying on a food stamp application in the 1990s, has become one of the most closely watched plaintiffs backed by gun rights groups. And he's taken his fight to get his gun rights back all the way to the Supreme Court multiple times. He has to keep going back to the Supreme Court multiple times. Because, like, supposedly the most conservative Supreme Court of all times, like, won't just say, yeah, obviously, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Like, seriously, though, this is what I mean, right? How many of you think that somebody who lied on a food stamp application in the 1990s, how many of you think he should still be a prohibited person? What do you think, Mike McClune? Bill Camperas? Jane Locke? Lone Wolf? Dale, what's up, Dale? Red? John Q. Public? I'm just looking at some of the good people in the chat right now. In here. What do you guys think, though, man? I mean, look, should you lie? No. But should the punishment for lying be... I mean, he lied on a food stamp application, the Range case, in the 90s. Wow. Dude, he's prohibited the rest of his life, and the Supreme Court won't even hear his case. He's had it at the Supreme Court like multiple times. Instead, they took up the Rahimi case, which for Rahimi, probably not too swell of a dude. You know what I mean? We didn't want the Rahimi case. We wanted the Range case. But it is what it is. However, hold on. Hopefully this is some good news. I do support, by the way, them actually giving a process for people to get rid of their federal disability of keeping and bearing arms. However, the Trump administration's push for gun rights restoration caused a new controversy at the DOJ last week. Now, here's what's crazy. I'm giving them a hard time. Look, guys, it is. Look. Here's one thing. One thing I'm going to agree with Trump on, period. Oh, man, someone just got mad at me and gave me a thumbs down. Don't forget to like the video, guys. Here's how this works. If you're too nice to Trump, people get mad. If you're not nice enough, people get mad. But hold on, I'm going to agree with him on one thing. That's the whole big ask. If you want it all, you ask for all. And then if the other side comes back and gives you half of what you want, you say, thank you very much, but no thanks. And then you ask again, and you just keep going until you finally get everything you want. There is actually tons of strategy in that. And that's one thing that Trump has known how to do well in his life. I just have to say it. It's true. But look, so me, I'm like such a 2A absolutist. I'm like raking Bondi over the coals because she doesn't know what rights are, and the way she's wording these things do matter. However, trust me, there's people that are even worse than her out there. So let me continue. Okay, Vince? I just saw my buddy Vince in the chat. Yeah, there's people that we need to give even a little more of a hard time than her. So let's continue. However, the Trump administration's push, and let me know if you guys don't know what I mean, because I'll clarify. There is something to that. It's the big ask. Don't ask for half of what you want, because then they'll meet you in the middle of that, and you'll end up with a quarter of what you want. I don't mean compromise on the Second Amendment. I mean, we're in a mess right now. So you ask for all of it, you get half of what you want. But that's not acceptable. So then once you get that, then you come back and say, thank you very much. No thanks. And then you're like, now I want all of this. And you keep going and you can never stop. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm being so hard on these people. Because you know what? No, I'm not compromising on none of this. Nope, all of it needs to go. However, the Trump administration's push for gun rights restoration caused a new controversy at the DOJ last week. Now listen to this. This is crazy. Elizabeth G. Oyer, a former DOJ pardon attorney, told the New York Times that she was fired after refusing to recommend actor and Trump booster Mel Gibson. Oh, wait a minute here. Mel Gibson have his gun rights restored despite a domestic violence misdemeanor. Wow. Oyer claimed DOJ leadership tasked her with recommending former offenders for rights restored, so she was giving her orders. Let's see if she listened. She said she delivered 95 candidates, but after they selected 9 candidates, a member of leadership told her to recommend Gibson as well. Ooh. Quote, he then essentially explained to me that Mel Gibson has a personal relationship with President Trump, and that should be sufficient basis for me to make a recommendation, and that I would be wise to make that recommendation, Oyer told the Times. Now, this is interesting, okay? She said that she refused to do so because she believes those with a record of domestic violence should not own guns. Quote, giving guns back to domestic abusers is a serious matter that, in my view, is not something that I could recommend lightly because there are real consequences that flow from people who have a history of domestic violence being in possession of firearms. She told the publication. Oyer said she also noted Attorney General Bondi did not need her recommendation to restore Gibson's gun rights, but she claimed her refusal to do so was the motivation for her firing. Wow. A DOJ official anonymously disputed the claim and told the Times Oyer was not fired over the Gibson request. Jeez, oh, Pete. This is reminding me of, like, let's just face it, this is reminding me of, like, middle school drama, actually. Wow. I have a 7th grader, okay? A 7th grade daughter, just so you guys know. Now, she's actually not really into drama at all. I don't want to jinx it, but she's really not. But, like, 7th grade girls, generally speaking, yeah. These people kind of remind me of that. Additionally, Oyer described a fight over what the gun rights restoration process should look like moving forward. She advocated for using a case-by-case approach, while others at DOJ argued for a more automatic process. It looked at how long it had been since the prohibiting offense and excluded those convicted of murder or armed robbery. So, how many of you guys think basically... Do you think all felons and all misdemeanors of domestic violence should be prohibited forever? Or are you in the camp of non-violent felons? Because that's a big line a lot of people draw. A lot of people say, well, non-violent felons should be able to have guns, but violent felons should never be able to have guns even after they get out. Just sound off. I just want to see where you guys are at with that. I've been pretty exhaustive in telling you guys exactly what I think about it. Additionally, one described a fight. Okay, I just read that part. Bondi asserted in the IFR that the move does not require an upfront notice and commence period before going into effect. I think they meant comments period. I think. Yeah, Mike Hammond just said not as much drama as the US CCA and AOR. Oh, I know. Wow. Woo. I can do a poll in the chat, but I don't have a producer like to do that for me, right? This is a pretty low budget stream. We keep all the money for fighting for the Second Amendment. But yeah, I have to stop the stream to make the poll, you know. What's up, Pillbox Bunker? How you doing, man? Ego Riser? Mike McClone, Mike Hammond. Oh, good people. I need to keep reading. I get distracted because I look up. I'm like, man, there's another good person in this chat tonight. Okay, quote. I'm almost done with this article. Removing effectively defunct regulations, addressing how the Attorney General's statutory authority will be exercised, does not adversely affect members of the public and involves an agency management decision that is exempt from the notice and comment rulemaking procedures of the APA, she said. Okay. Yeah, I don't think this should need to be drug on and go through the APA either. They need to go through here and they need to make sure that people's, and this is their words, rights are restored, even though I reject the premise, but they need to get rid of their federal disabilities for many good people that were never violent at all. They were never whatever at all. They lied about food stamps 30 years ago, you know, stuff like that. So the IFR, which DOJ plans to publish on Thursday, will go into effect immediately. However, it still provides a 90-day post-publication comment period. Due to the significance of the removal of firearms disabilities process, it is also providing the public with opportunity for post-promulgation comment before the department issues a final rule on these matters, Bondi wrote. Providing such an opportunity is not, however, committing the department to waive its exemption from the APA's notice and comment process in this or future rulemakings regarding the removal of firearms disabilities under Section 925C. Right? I mean, mean tweets. Dale just said, yeah, that could get you. I mean, here's the problem, Jane. Look, with the domestic violence thing, Michigan just expanded. And you know this. I'm just using this as the opportunity to remind people they literally expanded what somebody convicted of domestic violence means. And I think I'm seeing a lot of people here like, you know, we need to narrow that down and make sure these are actual violent people. And it is a deep rabbit hole, Robert Chase. And we've been talking a long time tonight. And you can only be so thorough in one night. But yes, I agree with you. I'm going to read this super chat here that just popped up. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions, because we did reach our goal of 5 super chats tonight. And I would love to do a little Q&A. If you have questions really about anything. John Q. Public chiming in, saying, rest in peace, Brian Malinowski. Anniversary moment of silence. You know, the event that I wanted to go this year in South Carolina, the PSA The Gathering event. Last year I was down there and I was talking to my friend Ron who went with me, and that had just happened like recently before that. So yeah. Yeah, moment of silence. Prayers for Brian Malinowski's family. Yeah. I'm going to read this real quick. Get any questions you guys have him before we jump off here. Yeah. I agree with that, Red. I agree. You know, you guys are talking about marriage. What's up, MC Joe? Yeah, sometimes marriage is great for people. Sometimes it's terrible. I don't know. I don't have good marriage counseling advice. I'm not going to give it, right? I think it can be a beautiful thing for many people. For some people, though, it's not so good. I do know that. So after talking about this tonight, what is government? Why is it supposed to exist at all? This is Federalist 51. To the people of New York, The interests of the man must be connected with the constitutional rights of the place. It may be a reflection on human nature that such devices should be necessary to control the abuses of government. This was before the United States. This was before the Second Amendment and all of this was written. But what is government itself but the greatest of all reflections on human nature? If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. Think about that. In framing a government, which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. And that's literally why the Second Amendment was put there. Not for if, but for when they would come for all of the rest. And this says the only reason the government is allowed to exist is because men are not angels. And it's to protect us, actually, from other people among us. Because there are bad people. And it's supposed to protect our natural God-given rights from being tread on. Because while there is times for peace and there are times for war, and there are times for killing, there's never time for murder. And there's a difference between kill versus murder. And if someone murders, they do need to be taken away where they're no longer among us. Obviously. But the problem is the government, if governments were angels, see, here's the thing. If men were angels, we would need no government at all. And that's why we do kind of have to have a government, because men certainly are not angels, right? But it said if angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. Well, we know the government certainly aren't angels. And since they're not, that's why we have both internal checks. That could be the 3 separate branches of government, the Constitution itself, but also external checks. The external checks, that's we the people. And since all political power has always come from the barrel of a gun or other weapons, then that's why the Second Amendment is there, to protect our natural right to keep and bear arms. Let me check the chat here. Any questions, guys? I do appreciate that. It's a little offer I made earlier with the super chat goals. I said, if we get 5 tonight, I'll do a Q&A at the end. I appreciate all of you for hanging out tonight. Let me know what you think. If you're still watching on replay, down in the comments, be like, dude, I'm still watching like 2 hours in. That's cool. Hold on a minute. Let's read this, actually. D Mines, did I say that right? D Mines, a good friend of mine from New York State, where I grew up, was defending himself with a knife in self-defense and was charged as a violent felon. I believe he should get his right to bear arms restored. See, that's the thing. Someone defends themselves. Man. Again, I don't know the facts of the case, but I'll take you for your word. The way it's presented here, I agree. What is going on with the 111 bill? Robert Chase wants to know. I am going to put out a video hopefully tomorrow, if not Sunday at the latest, on that. It did pass the Michigan Senate committee. Paula Hankey. Anyone ever heard of her? Oh, geez, these people. I'm trying to be so nice tonight. I've been nice to everyone tonight, but now it's all good, Robert. I'm not mad at you, I promise. But now I have to think of this senator in Michigan. Some people call her Senator Paula Hankey. Okay? This is not a nice person. Okay? Senator Paula Hankey. Paula Hankey Panky. She was absent from the Senate. See, they were going to try to literally rush this through a couple days ago. One of the Democrats in the Senate is now in the United States House of Representatives. So now they're down to a 1-seat majority. Here's the crazy part, though. 5 Republicans voted for it was called the House bill, whatever. But in the last session, they had the equivalent bill of Senate Bill 111. And like 5 Republican senators voted for it last session. So I think about all of us ranting and raving and letting them know, like, this is not okay. This is severe red flag laws. All right. Then I guess it got to some of the Republicans, because from what I'm understanding in Lansing, as my inside sources are telling me, and look, that's why I go up there a lot. You need inside sources when it comes to this stuff. Trust me. But they said that all Republicans are going to stand in unity against it this time. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Harry Grimley. What's happening, Harry? Nice to see you, man. He says, 2AE to you, I have a question. What is the name of the new ammo manufacturer in Michigan you told us about a while back? Well, if it's a while back, I did a tour of Phoenix Ammunition. All right. And they're located not too far from me. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I think that's who you're talking about. If you're talking just down the road from here. All right. Let me check here. Yeah, Robert. We'll have to see what happens in the Senate with this one. It's going to be in the up-biter. I don't know if any Democrats will flip, though. That's going to be tough. MC Joe says names. Names of who? Okay. You know what, Lyle? I was actually talking to the attorney on the phone yesterday that's involved in that case. I did hear about that. I heard about it yesterday, actually. I just been busy out there because, like, it's been a long winter and I got bills to pay. So I've been out there doing leaves the last few days because I just needed to get this spring underway as quickly as possible. So I am a little bit behind on a couple videos that I need to get out there, but we've talked about them. I was literally the first person, guys. Keep in mind, I know I'm making excuses for myself, but hey, whatever, I am. But look, I wanted to have a standalone video talking more about this up 2-3 days ago. But I was the first person, like, in the whole internet, and actually, like, anywhere that brought this bill up. And this was on my stream like 3 weeks ago. Okay? So I've let you guys know about it. When I had the video with Brendan Boudreaux from Great Lakes Gun Rights, we talked about it again. Look, guys, I ain't keeping nothing shady from you, but you're like names of, look, when I say inside sources, air quotes, it's not that I don't trust you guys. Look, I'll tell you all about all this stuff. We're hanging out by the campfire, whatever. I'll tell you many, many things. You don't tell everybody everything on the internet because you don't want the other side to know what you're doing. Please don't take offense to any of this, okay? I'm just saying, like, there's reasons you have to do this. And trust me, it's not because of any of you. I promise. So I might not even be reading these chats right, but when you guys are like, we need their names, I did say something like, from inside sources, what I understand is this. You know what I'm saying, right? Look, when I do my videos, I cite sources more than anybody does. I promise. I've literally had more representatives on this channel, like literally in the video, in real life, sitting here. I drive to the Capitol. I drive to where they're at. I bring stuff in the forefront as much as possible. But when there's a plan going on to try to, to strategize, you just don't want the other side to know what all your plans are. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And trust me, I tell you guys more than I tell anybody. It's just some people that are not so nice and not so Second Amendment friendly, they watch it too. You know what I mean? Trust me. Don't think for 1 minute these Democrats don't watch this. They definitely watch. What's up, Wild Bill, Ohio? How you doing, man? Well, we had a fun time tonight, I think. Did we have a fun time tonight, guys? I hope we did. I know the topic was like kind of serious, and kind of like somber. I get it. But I hope it was important and that you all enjoyed it. Like I try to have fun even when it's like real serious. Well, thank you, Vince. I appreciate it, man. Do you guys have any more questions? I'm gonna stick around for a couple more minutes here. What's up, Lone Wolf? How you doing? And I might not have even read the chat right. That's why I'm like, what are you guys asking me for here? I'll figure it out. Look, there's way more of you guys than me. That's just the way it works. But I go through and I reread it after the fact. And sometimes I'm like, man, I'm pretty dumb. Like these guys were asking me this. But here's the thing: someone else's chat popped up in the middle. Yeah, they're still in business. Yeah. All right. What's up, G23? How you doing, man? Oh wait, Republicans that voted for 111. No, that's the thing. I've heard. Now look, here's the thing. The only two votes on it right now were in the committee. Okay, Senator Jim Runstad voted no. Senator Ruth Johnson voted no. They stacked the committees like 5 Democrats to 2 Republicans, even though they're supposed to be like proportionately appointed. Just think about this. The Democrats have 19 senators right now, and the Republicans have 18. So you'd think the committee would be like 5-4 or 4-3 or 3-2 or something. No, they stack it like 5-2. That's what they do. There's not been a floor vote. That's the thing. They didn't bring it to the House floor, or the Senate floor for a vote after they promised they were going to, because one Democrat was gone. Now, if they had a bunch of Republican votes, they could have passed it even with that lone Democrat being absent. See what I mean now? What's up, Lyle Smith? I don't know if you're talking about my YouTube video being awesome. If you are, thank you. If not, then I don't know, or somebody else's. All right. Any more questions? Oh, okay. They're talking about somebody else's video. That's cool. There's other great videos too. I just wanted to make sure I said thank you if you were talking about me. Okay, you know what I'm saying, Lone Wolf. But that might not have been what the fellows were asking either, though. That's the thing. I have to go through and read all this stuff, for it to sink in after the fact. John Q. Public was asking about sending me an email. I will have to ask about that. I have a couple people that help me behind the scenes that go through that kind of stuff, so I will have to find out. The answer to that question right now, as I said here, is I don't know. Or no, I don't recall. So in other words, I need to see if I got it or not. But it seems like if I would have read it, I would have remembered it. So, but it may have gone through. I just don't know about it yet. Keep in mind, guys, when I say that, I hope that didn't sound like too coy or whatever. Like, I get like lots of emails, lots. The problem is that's why I like to take time here to answer questions and talk to you all, because like the context for my channel, dude, every spammer, every whoever, like it's just insane the amount of emails I get. And most of them aren't even from like real people. That's the thing. Will you show this product? Will you do this? Where our sponsor would like this and that, and it's just on and on and on. Some of them might be legit, some might not be, but at the end of the day, I just get so many emails. Oh, well, thank you, Mike. He says your live streams are always appreciated. All right, cool, man. Always tries to take time to watch. Well, thanks, man. And look, like earlier when the stream started, guys, like I promise you, I'm serious. I do watch a lot of people's live streams on replay. I enjoy it, I do. But a lot of people don't really want to watch a live stream on replay. I get it. Can you guys believe that, though? How many people whine? Man, they come in there and they're like, dude, this man could have said this in 5 minutes. Spit it out. Get to the point. Well, then, like, dude, you don't like my channel. I get it. Just move on. Like, oh, man. you would think to yourself, it's like, geez, oh, Pete, didn't look, it's like your 7th grade crush. You went to the school dance. It was beautiful. You were going to live happily ever after. And for those of you that are still married to your 7th grade crush, like, wow, that's like totally awesome. And I totally mean that. Like, are you kidding me right now? That's awesome. But most of the time, though, that doesn't happen. You just like move on. And then you've got like the ex-girlfriend and she's calling you and you're like, woman, I said we're done. And she's like, well, can we get back together? And you're like, no, we're not going to get back together. Then a week later, well, can we get back together now? It's like, no, we're not going to get back together. And then it makes me think of a Taylor Swift song of all people. Wow. And I'm not even a Swiftie. I used to be a Swiftie before Swiftie was a thing, actually. When she first came out doing country music, I liked some of her songs. Until they got a little bit too whiny and they were all about breaking up with people. But me and my wife went to a Taylor Swift concert back in the day. I'm just saying. I'm being honest. Make sure you guys don't forget to give that thumbs up button. I'm definitely going to get a little bit of hate for admitting it. No, I'm being serious. I went to a Taylor Swift concert back in the day when she was doing country music and whatever. And I'm not ashamed of it. It was cool back then. I used to like her music a little bit. And there was also other bands that played too, don't get me wrong. But it's like that Taylor Swift song. It's like, we are never, ever, ever getting back together. So I fast forward where it's like, dude, I'm like totally happily married. I haven't had like a psycho ex-girlfriend in a long, long time, except for in my comment sections. Full grown men. They're tough. They're blah. Dude, they whine more than a 7th grade ex-girlfriend does. 2A EDU, spit it out. All this man does is babble. He's rambling on. Get to the point. It does not take 2 hours for you to read this letter to us. No, it doesn't take 2 hours. Just go read it yourself. I mean, you know what I mean? Shout out to the replay watchers who actually get it, though. I'm sure you guys will leave me some comments, but man, oh man, every time I do one of these live streams, people are literally sending me messages or sending me Facebook direct messages. Oh yeah, that's where I get back on that email thing. They send me emails. You know what I mean? I must have got 5 or 6 emails. Spit it out. Get to the point. I'm like, dude, I'm talking about, like, in my opinion, like very like important stuff, and like I'm friends with these guys. Like, there's awesome people like in the chat. Like I'm gonna just hang out with my friends for a couple hours if it's okay with you. No, it's not okay. Get to the point. I demand. All of the content from your streams must be condensed into a 30-second YouTube short. I don't even like YouTube shorts. Wait, hold on a minute, Red. You would go to a Taylor Swift concert like back in the day, wouldn't you? Now, I don't know if he's saying that to me or not. I'm just picking on him and pulling his comment like totally out of context. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Who's been to a... Now, I had a hot date. Now, keep this in mind, guys. I said me and my wife went. I mean, you know what I mean. With a hot enough date, would you go to the Taylor Swift concert? No, I'm not blaming it on my wife. Like, it wasn't like she wanted to go and drug me there. Actually, it was the opposite. Hey, me and my wife, my brother and his wife, we all saw Taylor Swift together. But that wasn't the first time I saw her. But before, she was like the opening act. I remember way back in the day. This is a long time ago, keep in mind. She had like one hit. That's when like her song Tim McGraw, like that was her only radio hit. But I saw her back. I think she opened for Brad Paisley. Brad Paisley was doing a tour. And there was like, he was the headliner. Then there was the second opening band. And Taylor Swift was like the first opening band. So I saw her like way back in the day. Before she was even really like very famous. Now, hold on a minute now. Up, see? Lost all respect from me. I think Joe's joking, though. You're joking, right, Joe? Well, X plans? Hold on. It's okay. I forgive you, Mr. 2A Well, thank you. Thank you. I got to focus on some of these positive comments for my self-esteem, if you know what I mean. Demines just became a channel member. Thank you, sir. I see you became a channel member twice. I don't know how you did that or if that's just popping up twice, but I do want to cordially thank you. I'll thank you twice, even if you only signed up once. I don't know how he signed up twice, but thank you. I appreciate it either way. Now, hold on a minute now. Wait, hold on. I see a question from the minds. I'm going to get to that. I saw your thing, Red. We're going to get to this real quick here. Don't leave quite yet. Look, the content of the stream's been over for a while as far as the letter goes. This is the part where, is it okay if I just hang out with my friends for a few minutes? I have to ask people. I have to ask some of these viewers. Am I allowed to hang out with my friends just for a few minutes? Like, dude, like we all like work really hard all week, and like a lot of life like sucks. Like, nah, we're allowed to hang out. I gave you all permission. He says, I need to learn how to remove the rear dovetail sight on my TSOS PX9 Gen 1. Dude, I wish we were on like Locals or Rumble right now. Like, I might be able to. I mean, Susan Wiki, Ghost of Susan. I'm not anywhere near one right now. Look, I'm not anywhere near a gun right now. I couldn't touch one if I wanted to, both hands. So you have to do this on YouTube to prove you're not. If I was on another site, though, I probably would actually be able to go grab one. Man. I'll tell you this real quick answer. Some sites can be drifted with, like, it's called a Durlin rod. It's basically like some fancy type of polyester. Look up Durlin. I think it's spelled Derlin. Durlin rod. And then that way you can drift it with a hammer without marring up everything. However, if it's too tight for that to work, basically using it like a punch. You could use brass. Don't use steel unless, look, I'd have to see it. Everything's a little different. But it's kind of like you use this. It's called Durlin. It's a hard, but it's like still a plasticky type substance. That should keep from marring up your finish. If that's not enough, maybe brass, gingerly, rod, punch, drift. You know what I mean? A drift. But sometimes you need to buy what's called an actual sight pusher. So look up sight pusher. It's an device where it works as a little like press. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that helps you as much as I can, because I can't touch guns during live streams. Hold on a minute, though. He says, Taylor Swift? Well, hold on, Red. Oh, come on. I referred to this guy as my friend earlier tonight. Let's see. Maybe we can still be friends. He says, no, too expensive, and thankfully, we generally like CD shows at dive bars. Okay, we're still friends. Just wanted to make sure. No, we're good. The fact you got in early makes it okay. See? Now, a few of these guys are kind of like, well, you guys have stayed to the end. I mean, I can't believe I admitted to that. Dude, I do not agree with her politics, by the way. Trust me. Dude, this is like back in the day, though, before I even knew. By the way, Toby Keith, shout out to him. Big Toby Keith fan. But like that song he says, I wish somehow I didn't know now what I didn't know then. I used to be able to actually enjoy a wider variety of music till they all went woke. Bill Alexander. What's happening, Bill? Nice to see you. He says, great chat and stream. Have a great week, Patriots, and stay dangerous. Well, you have a good one too, man. Dude, look at that motorcycle he has, guys. Wow. Dude, that bike is so rad. Like, dude, I have an old Honda like CB360 sitting out back in massive need of restoration. Tell me that bike isn't sweet, guys. Just look at that. I love that motorcycle on there. Dale, dude, Miranda Lambert. I've seen Miranda Lambert a couple times in concert. I actually met her before. Dale says, I saw Miranda Lambert when she was just starting out at the Hoedown. Oh, yeah. I used to go to the old downtown Hoedowns in Detroit, Michigan. Missed the radio connections, went to a lot of live events, met many acts from that time. Well, that's cool, man. Yeah, a lot of you guys have probably met a lot more people than I have. That's awesome. Nicholas X, did you hear about George Foreman's passing? I did not hear about that. May God bless his soul. I didn't know that, no. Okay, hold on a minute. Harry, I need the self-esteem booster, okay? Thanks, G23 and others that are helping out our friend that needed help with the sites, you know. Sometimes a site pusher if the drift won't work. Drift, I call it. You know what I mean, right? Look up a Durlin rod or a drift or whatever. But yeah, try to help him out, guys. It's just we're on YouTube. We can't do too much, right? So you can't like list sites that sell any of this kind of like guns and stuff. But look, Amazon has that stuff. Not saying I suggest them either. Dude, I'm on YouTube. I'm literally like, wait, I can't say this. I can't say that. I can't. I'm gonna read Harry Grimley's comment because I think he still wants to be my friend. After I admitted I was at, dude, I've been to a couple Taylor Swift concerts. I had a hot date though, man. Like a brunette. Are you kidding me? I wonder, Harry, would I be if Pam Bondi had brown hair? Maybe I wouldn't. I'd still give her a little bit of a hard time, though. That's the problem. I really think I would. He says, do you want a positive comment, sir? Here it is. I see you as a modern-day Paul Revere. Wow, dude. Thank you. That's a big compliment, actually. He was a silversmith, too. And I've always thought silver is just pretty. Yeah. Well, you're welcome, man. DeMines is... He's thanking the chat for helping him out a little bit. Okay. Yeah, dude, some of these guys are like way smarter than me when it comes to some of this stuff. G23 giving you some good advice here. You know? Lyle Smith trying, yeah. Kevin James, are we suing for red flag? Yeah, I'd like to, dude. I don't have any money to file any lawsuits. But I did talk. Go watch my last standalone video. Just it's under videos on the channel, not live stream, a video. Brendan Boudreaux from Great Lakes Gun Rights gave you guys a little update about the lawsuit that GLGR, a Michigan open carrier, in the middle of. But yeah, guys, like Joe and whoever else from Michigan earlier, they no senators have voted right now for that Senate Bill 111. So if that's all you guys were asking me, they haven't had the vote yet. My inside sources are so secret and shadowy, though, I couldn't possibly. You know what I was doing, right? I was trying to look. It's all an illusion. I'm blowing smoke over here about super secret, sinister, top secret, in the shadowiest back rooms of Lansing possible. The dungeons of Lansing. I'm hanging out with the seediest characters to get my inside sources. But I actually made up that whole narrative just now and earlier. I don't have any sources. I've never even met a representative. I know no representatives. I know no senators. I made it all up to cover for the fact that I knew I was going to admit that I've been to not one but two Taylor Swift concerts, right? So you guys see where I had with this? I've never met a representative in my life. Are you kidding me? I've never even been to Lansing, not even once. I just had to come up with all this because they're like, what's he doing with inside sources? And while they were looking over here at me, they never noticed, dude. I was like in the front row, like of the Taylor Swift concert, right? Guys, I have to get off the live stream because my Swifties member package is coming tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I have to start 12 hours in advance and just sit out there and wait for the fan mail package to come in. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I told you guys I was too hard working all week, picking up leaves and, whatever. No. I was been watching Taylor Swift all week is why I didn't get that video up. See? See, 2-way EDU stealth. Say, there you go, Lyle. Yeah, man, I've never been to Lansing. Can't believe you guys fell for that one. Kevin James, what's happening, man? You're welcome. What's up, Gort? How you doing? Ooh, wait a minute. 3 Trende Araguas illegals. Ooh, those are the ones I was talking about. These are not so nice. These are not so nice people, guys. Look. Illegals were busted shoplifting at one of the PSA retail stores. Wrong place to try shoplifting. Wow, man. Dude, I've spent time at like their home store on Fernandino Drive in Columbia, South Carolina. Like I've bought plenty of stuff from there. I've shot at their range. Man. Ooh. See, MC Joe, just simple, gullible folks. Yeah. I've never been to Lansing. You guys know that. Don't know any reps. Good night, Red. Good seeing you, dude. Yeah, man, try to be here more often. We'll see you around. J-Flow, not too bright. See, I got all of you. Right, Mike? Right, Mike McLuhan? I got them all tonight. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. People are actually, wow, I just got a thumbs up. They said because you went to the Taylor Swift concert. Wow. This is working out very well for me. John Q. Public. One more question, guys. I'm going to jump off here. He says, is there a reason that national gun advocacy groups steer clear away from Michigan gun control? Well, yes and no. Yeah, there is reasons, actually. You might be surprised, some of them. That's a whole nother long conversation that, yeah, I've been streaming about 2.5 hours, so there are some reasons, I think. No, I can't speak for any national gun rights groups, but there may be some stuff getting worked on. And look, I was just trying to do a story for the channel. You know what I mean? A while back. And I was trying to find some information of people who maybe have been affected by some of these laws. Some of these recently unconstitutional laws that were passed. And I had like 3 or 4 people contact me over it. I thought I was going to get like hundreds of people contact me, but they really wouldn't so much. So, yeah. Yeah, the Privileges and Immunities Clause. What's happening, Dragon F? Yeah. Yeah, privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. Second Amendment shall not be infringed. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you're watching on replay and chiming in, or you're a little bit behind in the chat. But yeah, I agree. I don't think states should be able to pass any gun control at all. If you catch up to that point, because I think maybe our friend Dragon was kind of chiming in because he's maybe a half hour behind, which happens. Good night, J-Flow. Good night, Gort. Good night, Mike McLuhan. Red, again, good night. Good night, Bill Campers. Nice to see you, man. Man, you've been hanging out a long time, Bill. Bill's been here as long as anybody. But the Mike McLuhan, though, and Gort, and I mean, geez. Some of these guys are almost like OG 2A EDU, like Gen 1. Here's the thing, though. I was trying to think. No, none of you. None of you were subscribers when I went to my first Taylor Swift concert. I was almost ready to say, man, I go back as far with some of you guys as I do Taylor Swift. No, not even close. Me and Taylor Swift go back like 10 times longer than all of you. Even Dale. Dude, I've known Taylor way longer than you. Come on, man. All right, I'm going to jump off, and I will see you guys all again very soon. All right, thanks for watching, and have a good one.